Hello everyone and welcome to another Versus Video Deck Tech. I am BBD and I am alongside...
CVM.
Actually, I'm not alongside CVM. He's on the other side of the table.
We are across from each other.
Yeah, we're across and also cross. Like, I'm really angry right now.
You'll get over it.
I will get over it. Because I'm playing a sweet deck today. We're doing a Legacy versus Video in preparation for STG Husta?
I guess that.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
Yeah, it looks like Worcestershire, but it's pronounced Worcester. This weekend, it's somewhere in Massachusetts, and it is a 15-round Legacy Open. And last weekend, we had a Legacy IQ here at the game store in Roanoke, Virginia, and I ended up playing a Collected Company deck that ended up making the finals where Mr. Van Meter and I split. And I decided that I wanted to make some updates to it and play it in this versus video as well because I thought the deck was a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck. I basically built this deck because I wanted to see if this card was good in Legacy. It's showing itself to be one of the best cards in Modern right now, and it's just a very powerful card. And Legacy has so many creatures that are extremely powerful and do all these like spell-like effects. It's really hard to play decks in Legacy that don't have a lot of spells because you just find yourself weak to combo decks or things like that. But when our creatures are also spells and we can put 2 at a time in off a Collected Company, it seems pretty awesome.
Yep.
So in the IQ, I didn't play Brainstorm because I was playing Spirit of the Labyrinth. And I wanted to have as many anti-combo creatures as I could because I felt like Collected Company would help me win against the fair matchups by just providing a lot of 2-for-1s. But against the combo decks, I was going to struggle a lot. But I realized when I had like 9 lands in play that I really wish I had Brainstorm in my deck. So I cut the Spirit of the Labyrinth, put Brainstorm in, moved the Thoughtseizers to the sideboard. So we're going to be a little bit weaker against combo decks in game 1, but probably just a smoother deck overall. Because now we can like Brainstorm, put back 2 creatures, and then Collected Company into them, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
There were a number of times in the IQ I played where my opponent was like brainstorming and I had a Spirit of the Labyrinth in my hand and a Collected Company and like 5 lands. And if I just had like a Brainstorm, I could have just like put my Spirit back on top, companied into the Spirit, and just wrecked their entire turn. So
that is pretty cool.
Yeah. Now I don't have Spirit anymore, but you can still do things with like Sculler and Strix and Meddling Mage and the like. I ended up going with Esper as the creature base over other options. I had a number of different ideas. One of them was like Death and Taxes with Collected Company. One of them was like Maverick with Collected Company. One was like Dead Guy Ale with Collected Company. People even suggested like Slivers with Company or Merfolk with Company. So there's actually a lot of different ways you can build Collected Company, but I ended up opting for Esper because I felt like the creatures were like more powerful and more disruptive. So there's True Name Nemesis, which is the bane of fair decks everywhere. We have like Vendilion Click and Meddling Mage, which are really good against various combo decks and control decks. Sculler just as a disruptive threat, and then Baleful Strix, which is going to be very good in a lot of like grindier matchups where it's going to trade with like a Goyf or something, or force a removal spell. It's also a really good threat against Delver decks as well. And then lastly, we have Stoneforge Mystic and Deathrite Shaman, which are just 2 of the most powerful creatures in Legacy, arguably like easily in the top 5, but arguably number 1 and number 2 in Legacy. So this version is just going to play the most powerful creatures. I had Batterskull when I played in the IQ, but I've switched it to a Fire and Ice because I have so many creatures that I wanted a sword to like provide some advantage along with Jit rather than Batterskull, which was it's a very good card, but it didn't seem to fit the theme of the deck as much. I like Batterskull with Stoneforge a lot more when you're playing a lot of spells and you don't have a lot of other creatures, and you can just rely on the Germ to get the job done while you're brainstorming, Force of Willing, Thought Seizing, etc. But here I'd rather just slap a sword on a guy and go to town.
Plus, like with Collected Company, like we're not going to have a shortage of creatures laying around, and something that's going to be a little more cost-effective on equipping is probably where we want to be anyways.
Yeah. There might be awkward times where we're low on life and we wish we had a Batterskull, but Jit can still gain life, as can Deathrite Shaman. The mana base was actually really good for me. It played out really well. There's 2 Wastelands because I really don't like to play Deathrite Shaman without some number of Wastelands. But we're not really trying to get our opponent with Wasteland when we're trying to hit a 4-mana spell. So there's only 2 in here. just for various situations where Wasteland's really good, but not really as a primary strategy. 11 fetches because I want as many fetch lands with Deathrite as I possibly can have. And then the mixture of lands is such that I wanted at least 2 green sources so I don't get locked out with being able to cast companies if I don't have a Deathrite Shaman. And I opted for Tropical Island over Bayou because all the double blue cards, like there's a lot of blue. It's a blue heavy deck, and I felt like Bayou was not going to be very good. Yeah. And then we do have 1 Scrubland, which is probably the best land in the deck because Scrubland and Tropical Island lets you cast all your spells. So that's like, basically I want to have a Scrubland and a Tropical Island every game. So I fetch Scrubland on 1 almost every single game to cast like a Deathrite or whatever. And then Tundras and Underground Seas to fill it out. But that is the main deck for the company deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at the sideboard and see what sweet options we have there. All right, so one thing about the sideboard is we actually have a lot of spells and not as many creatures, which seems weird with a collective company deck. But the way I see it is that really all of our good creatures are in the main deck for the most part. Those are our heavy disruptive creatures, and we have a few more for certain situations, like Phyrexian Revoker I really like in a wide variety of matchups from some combo decks like Storm and Sneak and Show, as well as like Death and Taxes and like all these decks that have these activated abilities, like even Elves is good against Elves and things like that. So I like having access to, very good against Miracles too, Sensei's Divining Top and Jace. So I like Revoker's just a really powerful card to have on the sideboard. A Reclamation Sage. I wished I had this card when I played in the IQ so many times. So I was like, I'm not playing it again without at least one of these guys. And then 2 Containment Priests for like Elves and Reanimator and Sneak and Show and all these other decks where this card, if it's in play, they can't win the game. And that forces them to kill it. So we do have a number of like really powerful sideboard creatures, but the majority of our sideboard is spells. And I've opted for Zealous Persecution over something like Orzhov Pontiff because I really want to have an instant speed effect against decks like Infect, where killing an Inkmoth Nexus is really important. And just having an instant's really important. Plus, pumping our team is nothing to scoff at. Like, you can kill your opponent out of nowhere with a Persecution. Couple of Decays just as a universal card to answer problem things. A Batterskull for matchups where we're going to want to bring that in with our Stoneforge Mystic. And then 4 Thoughtseizes for control matchups, or combo matchups, and maybe control matchups some too. But really, basically, like, I wanted to have something so I'm not just straight dead to control deck or to combo decks.
Yeah, and it's just going to be an easy swap for plows.
Yep.
Like, there's a matchup where we're not going to need the plows. It's just very easy to turn them into Thoughtseizes.
Yeah, just cut 4 plows, add 4 Thoughtseizes. Just a really easy switch.
Call it a day.
And CVM even made the comment that we actually have 15 blue cards in our main deck. It's not out of the realm of possibility to sideboard Force of Will as well. Yep. So it's also something that you could consider with this deck. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of really powerful creatures, too, that I'm not playing in my sideboard, like Bone Shredder and things like that, that I really could be playing to wreck various strategies. So, Aethersworn Canonist, etc. There's a lot of, Gaddock Teague, Mirren Crusader, all these like different cards that are really good in a variety of matchups. So whatever your metagame is or whatever you expect to play against, you can really easily tailor your sideboard or even your main deck to be better against those decks. If you expect a lot of like Shardless Bug and Bug Delver or whatever, you can just play Mirren Crusader in your main deck over some of the things and just put a sword or a Jit on it and go to town.
Yeah, it's tough to beat that card.
Flex a Company to 2 Crusaders. Let's go.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, that is the 4-color company deck, or Forest Company, as I like to call it. And I'm really excited to battle with it again. It was a lot of fun when I played it. It can have some clunky draws, but it can also do some really awesome, powerful things in your opponent's draw step or whatever. You can really do some cool things. So let's see how it plays against CVM.